chirp.
So again, the title, Finishing Your Projects. So I've actually had this conversation and lecture on this topic before, early in the year. I was in Germany at a show called Playgrounds, We Are Playgrounds, and I was talking about this. And I brought it up as a focal point in terms of a discussion for presentations for this specific year because, I find this to be an important aspect of my life in the past 10 years of making things, but honestly also a part of a frustration that I'm going through. And so not only do I want to share about successes and things that I can do and help you on being able to give advice on pursuing your own routes, but also to hear people like, let's say, other professionals as such as me, 20 years in advance, and the problems that we also have. As successful as I've been in things that I've pursued, I'm still going through stuff of trying to find out what's my next sort of like build or next sort of project or next sort of avenue towards a skill set. And the frustrations, again, that lies within that. And I am currently going through them. And they're not easy to get through because you get to a certain point, you don't really have anyone to turn to as advice. Who do I talk to? Some instructor. No, they're not really around me anymore. I have a lot of students asking me questions, but as I sit there on my own sort of, thought processes and things I'm trying to develop, I myself feel a little bit lost sometimes. And then time keeps going faster and faster, and all of a sudden, I'm trying to finish these projects, and it's not really getting to where I want. So we start with this first slide with the idea that I'm sure you guys are familiar with this mentality. You plant seeds. Now this is obviously can be applied towards many other areas within what we engage in. Let's say, for example, starting a sketchbook, right? How many people here have finished a sketchbook this year? Hopefully a lot of you. Sounds good. But a lot of you have not, maybe. And typically, I tend to finish about 12 sketchbooks a year, okay? That's pretty average in those situations. So, but some people are like, oh, man, I can only finish one. Some people, I can't finish one at all. I've never even experienced finishing a sketchbook. So planting seeds is that mentality, the idea that I have something that's really interesting to me. There's something that's really gravitating my, want and drive, and I want to start something because the fantasy of it, the idea of it, sounds so amazing. And I can picture it, I can feel it. And so you invest into it. And so we plant a seed. But then what happens? Oh man, that sketchbook over there, and this project idea over here too. I planted that one, I'll get back to it. It's like I got all this time. I have so many great ideas, and I want to work on this also, because I think people will like it. I started this one, but I also want to maybe do this one as well. And then you keep going, you plant more. And it just doesn't seem to stop. But then you start to see the other ones kind of wilting a little bit. It's like, oh, you're not really caring for them. Your interest has waned. You kind of forgot about what you were doing. Time has passed, and all of a sudden you looked at the initial work and said, man, that's old stuff. This is not even comparable to what I can do now. I got to start over. How many times does that happen, right? You can cycle through over and over again. It's like it's never ending. I work on projects, but it's not good enough because my skill is actually even getting better. But that's never going to end. Your skills will continue to get better, naturally, just by efforts of time. And as you cycle back to an old project from, maybe it was in high school, maybe it was in college, maybe it was a personal time project, while you were working, and you look at it again, it's like, man, I gotta dust it off and I wanna start over. Maybe even the concept of the idea, man, it's been done before. Something came out recently, it's the same concept. I gotta change it. So there's always this constant cycling, and things are just dying in front of you, right? And it doesn't seem to germinate, really grow to the levels of expectation. You can plant them, the idea is always easy to generate. You have millions of possible ideas. Maybe you don't. Some people even have frustration in that. I can't even think of anything. And once I do, I'm so scared to even plant that seed because it's maybe not gonna be good enough again. That expectation is so high and so intensive, that pressure is so heavy, it feels backbreaking, right? So a couple words I wanna share with you. First, in terms of the formula in which you're gonna wanna approach the idea of developing projects. What initiates that? What's the incentive as well too? First, it's gonna be the opportunity. The opportunity is the first thing you need. So what is an opportunity I can have? Well, maybe LightBox. LightBox Expo is my opportunity, a deadline, an incentive that I want to generate a portfolio piece, a project, an illustration, a sketchbook, and I want to take it here and show it to those artists. I need to get feedback. I want to get advice. Maybe I'll even get a job. I need an opportunity. Maybe the opportunity, again, is job application. I have a portfolio. There's an industry out there. I'm going to go out and find that work. Or I want to make my own concept piece of a story or of a comic or a project and come to a show, get my own table, come to Artist Alley and sell that work. Another potential opportunity, right? From that opportunity, research. We have to research intentfully and intensity-wise, go deep into it. How do I research certain things? Well, I'm gonna make my own book. I'm gonna come to LightBox or Comic-Con or some sort of festival. I have an Artist Alley table. I've never done it before. What do I sell? How do I make it? Where do I go to even print it? How much is it gonna cost me? Well, the first thing I'm gonna do in research, I'm gonna attend that event. As you're here now, I'm gonna ask these questions. Maybe those artists will tell me. Maybe they won't, but I can find out. Again, what have they made? What do I wanna make? Well, that seems to align with what I like, so I'm gonna try to reproduce it. So I gotta research first. What can I do? How can I do it? Where can I go? Then, of course, the more difficult aspect, right? Time management. You gotta be able to then understand if I have the opportunity of the moment, which is my deadline, I research in terms of how I need to make these things, well, how long is it gonna take me, right? This sort of stuff you may not know either. This is a part of the research. Ask questions of even to the artists out there, hey, you made this really cool art book, how long did that take you, right? Don't ask them such specific questions of, did you spend like 3 hours a day working on this, and how did you manage your time from there? It's like, no, just generally. Did it take you a year? Was it 6 months? What was the general timeline? From there, then you gotta be able to understand your own environment in terms of what you're doing day to day. Are you working part-time? Are you working full-time? Are you just a student full-time? Are you just living at home and just doing whatever you want? Based on that day, you gotta be able to break it up in terms of what's affordable, in terms of your investment to developing your piece, but also balancing it properly for your mental and physical health, right? Interest, the last part. As I have the opportunity, I researched it as to what I want to do. I've managed maybe an idea of a schedule of how I want to work day to day, week to week with a short goal in mind. I got to have the drive. Something's got to push me. I can have all this set up and there's a potential to be able to make this thing. But if I'm not interested in doing it, I'm not going to invest. I got to be enthusiastic about this thing. So when you're working on projects, the initial idea might be really fun. But then, of course, the real work begins, right? I gotta actually design it. I gotta actually start to produce it. Maybe I'm making a comic. I gotta write it. I gotta actually do the pages. That's the real work you gotta do. And all of a sudden, it's like drudgery, tedium. But if the interest is high, the drive and the hunger is there, you will be able to then break through those walls, right? These 4 elements and categories, I wanna make sure I am being very intentful of consciously being thought of as I then approach potential projects. There's the last one, which is a part of that interest, hunger. It's the same thing. Let's move on to the other side. So this goes into then the beginning. As I talked about the idea of being able to set that up as a mentality and the things you should be considering, let's talk about then maybe what I had done. As an example, some of you who may have been students of mine might know some of the stories. For some of you who have not heard me at all, this could be maybe, again, aligned to things you're interested in hearing. So in the beginning for me, it's the stuff that I just mentioned to you guys started way back for my own personal venture. And it started as far back as 2008. I graduated Art Center here in Pasadena in 2004, and I found work 6 months after I graduated. And I worked in concept design in video games. And I worked in Burbank, California, and I moved down to San Diego. And I was in San Diego for a number of years working for numerous game studios. In that time, I was only working full-time, 9 to 5 jobs. I then went home, maybe went to the gym, and then went home, played games, and went to sleep, okay? That's all I did. I didn't make my own stuff. I was out of school a couple of years. I wasn't having any personal projects. I just worked, went home, had friends I would meet up with. That was all I did, all right? For a number of years, that's all I did. Opportunity then came. The opportunity was I was working at a game studio called Bottle Rocket, and my office mate, his name is Dave Vulcan, said, hey, are you going to Comic-Con this year? Or next year, that is. And I said, well, I'll attend, and I want to go walk around. But he's like, well, do you want a table? I was like, well, what do you mean? He's like, I have a bunch of Artist Alley tables. My company that I work with, a publisher, he works for Marvel and DC and all these different places. They gave me a table, and said, you can have one. I was like, okay, that sounds kind of fun. And San Diego at the time, and was for a little bit, Artist Alley was free. So if you got a table, you're welcome to go in there, and you would just apply for it. If they picked you, you're in. So I got a table through him. Now, at this point, I had made nothing, ever. And so I was like, okay, I'll try it. Because one, San Diego, I lived there, and the show was in my backyard. Why wouldn't I, right? The table's not costing me anything. Why would I say no? So I said, sure. So then I thought, shoot, now what do I gotta make? What do I do? So I went through all my old work, from college days to present work, and I made this sketchbook. Because I thought to myself, well, the things that I've seen is sketchbooks to sell. So I'll make one of those things. So I made a sketchbook. I went to a Kinko's 2 weeks before Comic-Con, and I made 60 copies of this out of a printer, the actual copy machine. Stapled every single one of them, trimmed it, and took it to me to Comic-Con. When I took it there, I'll tell you more of the backstory behind it. I think I sold maybe 10 copies, okay? It's a 4-day event, and I think I sold 10. And they came to my table, they saw that book and said, oh, this is really cool stuff, but then they put it down. And they walked over to the other side of the table and they saw the sketch pack, the sketch pile, essentially. And they picked those up, these originals, and saying, is this available? Can I buy this? And I said, no, it's just display. You can look at it, it's not for sale. They're all originals. And every single person that came to my table was doing this. They picked up that book and was like, oh, that's kind of cool, and put it down, and then went over to those originals. Say, can I buy this? Can I buy this? I said, no, it's not for sale. I don't know why I didn't sell it, but I didn't sell it. So okay, well, that was okay. I mean, the show ended. Again, I sold like 10 books. I still today have 30, 40 of those on my shelf, okay? Right now still, on the back of my wall, they're still there. And it reminds me of this entire adventure because I'm gonna explain to you a 17-year consecutive timeline, okay? The following year, I came back to Comic-Con, I applied this time, opportunity, Comic-Con again. I'm working full time still. I'm not teaching, this is 2009, and that book, the second one, Sprocket and Gear, that contained all the sketches from that previous year, all the originals that I had, because man, people seem to like those drawings. So I took those drawings because I did them for Comic-Con last year. I found an old piece, this cat and rat character, and I said, well, I'll just draw a bunch of those things, just for fun. And people seem to like it, and I made that book. You know what happens at shows like this? People come back. And they came back and saw that book and say, I remember these characters, that drawing you had last year. And they bought the book. Now, of course, I was being more conservative. I only made like 30 copies. But I sold pretty good. And then the year after that, when I came back, I made another book. Had a bunch of designs, more digital work. The year after that, when I came back, I made a comic, storybook. The year after that, when I came back, I made another storybook. 4 years straight, I made Sprocket and Gear content. And I was selling it to, obviously, people, but then also producers and people that work in animation, and TV started coming around saying, this is a really cool idea. And I started pitching it at like Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon. Never went anywhere. But the idea was that I enjoyed the process of being able to share this project. And the incentive was there now, Comic-Con, right? And being able to be there present. I had a full-time job. I got money, that's fine. But now I have something to kind of shoot for as a goal. I came back the year afterwards and I made this sketch adventure book, and it wasn't that well received. Because I thought, well, Sprocket and Gear, I've done this for 4 years. I want to do something else. And I came back with a new one, and people were like, well, it's kind of whatever. But each and every single one of these projects are small little bites, things that I can manage because I had a full-time job. What can I just do when I go home just to be able to work 1-2 hours? I could just do a couple pages of drawings. You know, I could do a couple pages over here. And the first couple books were like, I don't know where to go to print it. I don't know how much it's going to cost me. But each one gave me more data about what it cost, how long it took, and I was able to be more efficient in producing it every single year afterwards. And the books then became less intimidating. And each book then started growing higher in quality, higher in page count, more intensive in terms of the content inside. This book over here is not the actual book that I finished with. So let's go to another page. This book was in 2000, and what was it actually? It was 13. This is 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So this is 2013-14 Comic-Con. In 2010, I started teaching, okay? So now I was working full-time and now teaching. And I started gathering all this data of all the stuff that I'd done in classes, and I made this book for Comic-Con the year afterwards. Now, as I'm still working full-time, I'm now fully invested in my own projects, in my own development. At first, I had no intention of doing this stuff, but then all of a sudden, that first opportunity kind of shot me in that trajectory. And from then on, all of a sudden, those opportunities kept coming. I wanted to keep going back. It was really fun. At first, I was also really scared to talk to people. I didn't know how to sell it. I didn't know how to present it. I didn't know how to actually pitch it. But each Comic-Con, every time I went, I got better. I got more used to it. And then teaching increased my levels in being able to verbalize, to share my thoughts in any other way or process. And so when this book came around, I thought, well, okay, well, this is something I want to invest a bit more on. I want to actually invest money. I want to make more copies, higher production, hardcover book. I don't have the money for that. This is going to cost me like a couple grand to make this thing. My budgetary from the job that I had was from my lifestyle, but it wasn't budgeted for other things on the side. But I don't know, I don't have a publisher. I don't have a place to go to that can make it for me. So I just have to do it myself. And around this time I thought, well, where can I go to maybe get some money? And this is when Kickstarter was really getting really big, right? So I said, okay, I'll give it a try. Kickstarter sounds kind of interesting. I have no idea how it works. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'll figure it out as I go. So each of these projects are based on, first, of course, I know I have a show to go to present this. Now I have more experience having done it before. I know my time management. I know how much certain things cost me because now I found a printer locally in San Diego. Then it's like, well, if I'm going to make a bit of money off of this or try to make some funding to produce this, I'm going to go to Kickstarter and try it out. And I went there for the first time on Kickstarter. This is the actual book. Here's some of the pages, interior. These are all chalkboard drawings. And I went on Kickstarter. This is the actual front page of it. My goal was $3,000 some odd, okay? And I had never used Kickstarter. And I put it out there thinking, man, I hope this gets funded. I have no idea how it's going to work. Maybe nobody's interested in it at all, you know? So I decided to do so. And I put it out there, and I made a huge mistake. The mistake I made was all the rewards for the Kickstarter were limited, meaning there were a certain number of books, because what I set up there was I planned to have 200 exclusive copies at San Diego Comic-Con upcoming year, 200. So all the rewards were locked to a maximum of 200 books. When I opened the Kickstarter and it launched, in the first hour, I got funded. I hit 3,000. And then for 30 days, it sat there doing nothing because I locked everything. And I had to wait until it expired to be able to get the money to be able to pay for the book. But I could have pre-ordered thousands of books, but I only made 200. I just didn't understand that people would actually maybe even want it or how even Kickstarter operated. I didn't know anybody to talk to. And that's just the way I kind of did it. So as I'm building projects, I'm learning about the ins and the outs and the things that are working and not working. But yet, behind all this stuff, I got to be able to manage all this with a full-time job, with 3 classes I'm teaching on the weekends in LA, driving up from San Diego 2 hours every weekend, doing this in the after hours also too. This then has to have that hunger. I got to have to want to do this. If somebody told me to do this, there's no way I'll be able to complete this stuff, right? I have to want this. And if there's no want, then it's dead in the water. And you have to find that now. How do you find that drive? How do you find that hunger? And it can be sparked here because you can meet people, others individuals that are just as enthused, just as energized. How are they doing things? You learn about it, and you all of a sudden find that, right? And it's going to drive you past those really hard walls where it's going to stop you because I don't have enough time. It's too expensive. It's not good enough. All those things can be overcome. But you got to put yourself out there, but you still have to have that want. Thankfully, I've always had this even at a young age, this desire, this hunger to pursue, even if it's a skill, if it's a project, if it was going to the school and producing as much as I could. No one ever told me, I just kind of did. And is this a talent thing? It's not a talent thing, but I do feel like it is something innate. I want to tell you this. Hunger, I can actually feel from others, okay? I actually feel it. It's a physical thing that I can actually feel in the core. It's hard to understand and it sounds weird when I say it, but it's something I can pull from anytime I want to, and it keeps me going. And even after doing a show like this for 10 hours straight, I'm raring to go again still, you know? I'll have classes that go 10 hours long and I'm talking nonstop. Physically, I can be tired, but man, mentally and in here, it's so high, the energy level, you know? Now, if I could give that a portion to you, and I have an infinite level of it, I wish I could. But I think it can be discovered. I think it can be nurtured, and I think it can be sparked. But if you sit there at home behind your computer thinking you're gonna find some resource, it's not gonna happen. Being here is a part of it. So in 2014, the year after Part of My Dust, something clicked. I don't know what it was. And I just started drawing nonstop. I just could not stop drawing. I was drawing 2, 3 of these kind of images a day. And I was posting them on Instagram every single day. Where was the incentive? Where was the hunger? I started to realize at this point, I was looking around me, it's like, man, my skills are okay, but all of a sudden, people around me are just really damn good, you know? And I go to Comic-Con, and I'm starting to walk around and realize there's these artists coming from all over, and they're just blowing people out of the water. And I'm looking at my stuff, it's like, I know I can get there. I know I can do this as well, too. Again, that hunger, that incentive is starting to generate. The idea pops in, it's like, I want to train. I have to do something about this. Each of these kind of things, whether it's a sketchbook, whether it's a produced book, whether it's something else that you're working on as a personal project, is something that you're tunnel visioning on, something that's an entity that you can actually really encapsulate towards. For me, this particular year was about being able to train. This was my project, okay? It wasn't about producing a book. I'm not trying to sell anything. I don't want to make money. I want to get my skills from here to here. That's my project. So your project, when I say finish them, is not isolated again to this printed thing. It could be very something personal, very internal, and that's something that you have to chase. And it can be very frustrating because you have all these expectations and you may never actually reach them. But the goal and having the sense of drive and direction is really, really critical. So here, I could not stop drawing. That was stuck in my brain, and that's all I could think about. Waking up, sleeping, drawing, nonstop for a year. At the end of that year, well, here's some of the pieces. Well, during that time of making it, this popped up randomly. I was doing studies of Asian armor and brush pen work, playing with camera, pose, that sort of stuff, and this image just popped up. I posted it on Instagram, and people were like, oh, that's a really cool idea, because I put a little note on it saying this storyline or this little plot, and people responded to it, asked questions. What are you going to do with this? What is it? Can I get it? Can I buy it? I'm getting these sort of questions on Instagram. I was like, oh, people seem to like that, and then from that moment, once that drawing popped up, I had no idea who this was. I had no idea what this project was supposed to be, but then all of a sudden, there was a side project that popped up. Initially, it was push my skill. Then this thing germinated, and from there, it sidetracked me. People liked it. Okay, you know what? Every single day, I drew this character, and I posted it consistently, month to month to month. This is all within the span of 2014. At the end of that year, I must have had like 300 or 400 drawings, okay? And that's purely for this, not only also for like the demos that I would do for classes, things I would do inside of education. I was drawing nonstop. And so this character, the blacksmith, happened, and people are asking for it. It's like, you know, is it gonna be a comic? Is it gonna be this or this or this? Now more seeds are being planted, right? So I'm starting to think, okay, maybe I can make something out of that. This image right here was the one that kind of like captured it all. I found my style. I found my look. I found my story. I know who this character is. Everything was now starting to come into play. It was a slow development of months and months of just drawing nonstop. So some of these projects, I mean, yeah, you might think, well, I'm probably going to need multiple years to do so. Some can come quick, some will take long. This one was about a half a year of just constant drawing, of developing that project idea. This is just the idea, not even just like making the comic or the story, just finding the look and knowing what this project is about. To research it, to understand it. I researched like crazy. It was funny, I went in LA, there was the Ronald Reagan Museum. Just by chance, opportunistically, they had a big gallery event for Mongolian art. And this character is a Mongolian character. It just perfectly lined up. It's like, man, there's all this resource, armor sets, weapons, saddles, stuff for products and things that they're using at the time, from that time period of this story. And I just found it. I was like, I'm gonna go to that gallery. I went twice. Researched like crazy, photographs, drawings. It just fed right into it. I didn't plan that. It was just an opportunity, it just popped up right there. And then the book emerged. Once I had everything complete in terms of all the drawings, I threw another Kickstarter up. This is in 2014-15 year. This one was my second Kickstarter. So now that I have a little bit of experience with Kickstarter, I kind of know how to run projects. Okay, I can use this really to make the funding to help successfully produce my things. So I went on there, and my goal was $10,000. I'm gonna go for it. I'm just trying to see if I can make that, right? 10 grand. It seemed like a big number to me at the time. And I wanted to print, if I could, thousands of books. I didn't limit this time. I said, whatever I can get, I'll get. And it took the full 30 days of the campaign, and I hit past my goal. This one I was extremely satisfied by. Now, once I get to this point, these are, to me, bigger projects. I'm spending a year on something like this. Going back to the beginning of 08, you guys need to, again, remind yourself, small, satisfying completions, successes. Small successes are important. You have to have those moments of like, I did it. I finished it. People maybe even bought one thing, you know? I got it out there, I showed it. I put myself in an uncomfortable position and I put myself out there. You need a small fraction of success. And you gotta be able to have those small moments and experiences continually, every single year, every year. And there can't be a moment of being off. Every year, you have to have small, short goals that may even get bigger, because you're investing more, bigger projects, more money, and they become more grand. This one was extremely satisfying. And the reason why was because this was purely my stuff. It wasn't education. It wasn't, you know, some stylistic approach I was imitating. This is all mine. Style-wise, idea-wise, the time I invested into it, this is 100% me putting myself out there. And the fact that I actually got that campaign to be successful was just one of those things I look back on that I feel like was a turning point, where it kept then growing. This is just some of the images from that book. Some of the signings, some of the actual original art. Hold on one second. It's not. Uh-oh, I think the computer froze a little bit. Give it a second, you guys. There we go. Just gonna skim through a little bit here. I'm gonna go back. Sorry about that. It passed through a lot. I need to go back way more. So, coming from that actual sketchbook, process, is that right? Yeah. That came then the next step. Again, I'm planting more seeds. I'm trying to develop projects. As I'm getting small successes, I finally got a really big splash. I felt really satisfied. I was being recognized by fellow peers. I was going to Comic-Con showing that book, and people are coming up to me, man, your skill went from here, now it's here. And I'm getting that validation. And so now I'm putting, again, that incentive to, I gotta get that next step. Now, this is the part in which I feel like many people have a hard time embracing, which is it seems like it never ends. You know, you do one thing, you finished it, now it's like, what's the next one? You gotta get better. You gotta do the next one higher, greater, bigger. Does it ever feel like you gotta stop? Does it ever feel like you gotta maybe like back away a little bit? For me, there is no bar. There is no peak in the mountain. It's a continual just process. It's not up and down. It's just experience. It's just living, doing, because I enjoy it passionately, because it's all I ever want to do, all right? And that's all it comes down to, simply as that. So I'll never stop. There's never going to be not another project, not another book. There will always be something. And even if it is lower in quality, that doesn't change my mind frame. But the fear still exists, because after that project, I'm going to keep check of time, by the way. After that first, the sketchbook of 2014-15, people kept asking me, it's like, that blacksmith was cool. You should make a comic out of that. So I'm really feeding off of the data of the audience and customer. So I thought, man, you know, I like the blacksmith, but I don't know if I want to do a comic. Comics are really, really hard. And I have no experience doing them. I'm not a writer. I've never done storytelling. I've only done design. But, okay, my next book, maybe I'll give it a try. But the fear was attached to it. I was really scared of this project. It's called The Blacksmith, the character. And I had a whole idea in mind. The story was so real that anytime I drove up to LA to go teach, I would play music. And I can actually play a full trailer of the movie in my head, of that book. It's how visual it was. And when people said, make a book, make a comic, we'll buy it. There was that, again, want to do it. It's like, okay, I do want to do it. It seems to be the best way to get this project out there. But it was so scary, because I'd never done it. And the biggest thing that feared me was I can't write, you know? I'm not a writer. I can draw for you, can build the world and design it, but I don't know how to structure these things and dialogue stuff. So I even took it to my friends worldwide, globally. I was in Australia, I was in CDW, and I talked to an artist named Tim McBurney. And I had dinner with him, and I asked him, I have this idea. Can I pitch it to you? And he said, yeah, sure. And he said, I don't know how to even approach this. Do you think I should hire a writer to do it for me? And one thing he just said to me was, no. Do it yourself and fail, right? It's gonna be terrible, but it's okay. You'll do it better next time. I said, all right, and all my friends said this. So the thing I had to do was move forward and find out how I need to actually problem solve this project. So in this project that was so different to what I've already been known, which is typically doing art books, educational books. Now I gotta do something that has structure and story and world building. So any sort of projects like this that feel very overwhelming, if it's not story-based or whatever it may be for you that's overwhelming, here's a couple things I can suggest to you as to like how you can maybe approach it. For me, because it was so overwhelming in terms of the world and the written aspect, I know that I can't sit down and just write. I just can't do it. What I do know, and my strength is I can draw. So I'm gonna problem solve it through drawing. So then find your strength. What is it? Is it drawing? Is it research? Is it, I don't know, verbalizing? Is it being able to talk to people and find out information through them? Is it through, sorry, this thing is still moving forward. I'm gonna stay on there. It's gonna be whatever areas of strength that you might be able to recognize. And for me, it was drawing. And what I had to do was, on my chalkboard, is the only image I have of this. This was back in 2016. On my blackboard, I put a big piece of butcher paper up. And on that butcher paper, I put a long horizontal line. And on one point, I said birth, and on one end, I said death. And this is the character. This is the blacksmith. And on that timeline, all those Post-it notes are individual adventures he's going on. And when in his timeline. And once I had that on the board with all these different ideas, any single one of those could be a book. Any single one of those could be a project. I walked up to it and I grabbed one Post-it note and said, this is my project. So now I had the story, the idea of what his adventure was. I know when it fit within his timeline as to where he is in his life. Is it near his birth? Is it near his death, right? From there, I took that idea and on the bottom, I storyboarded. I didn't write, I storyboarded and wrote. Because that's the only way for me to actually get this down. I had to visualize it as I'm actually speaking the dialogue. So I storyboarded it once down here. Crappy little sketches on a small 3x5, okay? And it was about an 80-page comic. And I sat there and thumbnailed the entire thing. And once I finished it, well, it's not there, but I thumbnailed it again a second time. And it was bigger. So I went through a two-step process of thumbnailing. Thumbnail is gonna be your best friend, all right? Research is a aspect in terms of process, all that stuff we talked about in the very beginning. In a big overwhelming project, isolate in terms of what your focus is gonna be, but then thumbnail like crazy. Thumbnail will be your best friend. It'll help you problem solve everything. And for me, for writing, thumbnail was the problem solving aspect. So when I thumbnailed it once, I got a sense of what the structure was about. It felt okay, and then I did it again. Thumbnailed it, bigger, more defined, more clear. And at that point in the second thumbnail, I shared it with my friends. You have to expose your process. Put yourself out there. It's scary because when you look at this, it's like, but it's such a bad looking drawing. It looks terrible. It makes no sense. When they look at it, they're gonna judge me, but you have to put it out there. I have so many friends who have project ideas and they never show it because they say, well, I'm still working on it. I'll show it to you when I'm done. And a year will go by. I'm still working on it. I'll show it to you when I'm done. I have a friend who was like this. When I worked at a studio in San Diego, one of the most amazing character concept artists ever came by. His name was Heath Srodawa. H-E-T-H-E, Srodawa, S-R-O-D-W-A. Heath is an amazing artist, and he has such amazing concepts. And at the time, he showed me his stuff. It's like, dude, why aren't you sharing this? Why aren't you making something of it? It's like, oh man, I got family, and I got the full-time job, and I don't need to do it. I'll do it later. Never did it, you know? Years went by, never did it. And it's like, this would have been an amazing piece, and he never pursued it. Now he's doing more stuff of his own now, but at the time, he had no intention or thought of doing so. But sharing it is so important because he was willing to share it to me. I was giving these words and affirmations, but I think he needed more confirmation of like, go, push, push. But if you don't share things at all, and you only seclude it to yourself, you have no context of like where you are in terms of like the development process. Is it working? Does it make sense? That sort of thing again. And it may be judged, it may be criticized, but you need it. It's so important. Then stuff like this happens. As you develop projects, you might have a story idea, a concept art piece for a portfolio, something that's your own original concept. And all of a sudden, you come across another project, another idea, something in history, and you look at it, it's like, man, that's my idea. You know, that's exactly what I'm doing. And all of a sudden, it's like, my stuff is not even original anymore. There is no originality, okay? It doesn't exist. Get over that mentality. There are unique takes, there are unique hybrids, there's gonna be your interpretation. Sometimes just inadvertently. This was just coincidence. I was just researching on Google more stuff on Asian mythology. And I just came across this guy. I have no idea who this was at first. This is a guy named Benkei. And his story was, he was a monk, and he protected, I believe it was the emperor or something like that, and he died on a bridge, and he had killed, I think, 1,000 or collected 1,000 swords as he met them on the bridge. And that's how he died, essentially, on it. The basic concept was that he would actually basically protect his lead, and as opponents would come by and he would defeat them, he would take their weapon and he would hold them all over himself. My concept for my blacksmith was the idea and the concept of the blacksmith traveling Asia, finding mythological weapons, and he would collect them. And I saw this as like, so similar, it's so close. And I thought, man, I don't know if I'll share this anymore, because then I came across that, it's like, now it's just a copy. But it's not the same. It was just my back of my brain telling me, you're not original. It's just, the same thing over and over again. But it was okay. It's me telling me this. Nobody else saw that, right? Oh, actually, this is the other set of thumbnails. This is the second round of thumbnails that I had. The image might be actually flipped. These were the actual pages of the comic. So once I did one thumbnail, secondary thumbnail, then I actually did straight into the actual pages of the comics themselves. This book took me 2 years to make. 2 years. First year was all that stuff I showed you, the thumbnailing, the research, all that drawing, going through the process, trying to problem solve everything. Second year, doing the pages, coloring it, going to Kickstarter, distributing, and shipping. I did everything myself. I was doing 2 pages a day, this. And once I thumbnailed everything, there was no underlay. I go straight in with the brush pen. Just some more pages. Now, of course, in the comic, because I was a little bit scared about the writing, I made it much more visual, so it's more action-oriented. This is some of the color pages. What was interesting, of course, that happened after I then finished the book. In 2019, I went to Comic-Con that year, and I took this book with me. I self-published and printed a few of these on my own, the highs and the lows. I went to Comic-Con, I took that book, I took 50 copies. I printed it on myself, and I went there, and I sold those books. And the lady bought a book and then walked away. Didn't talk to her. I didn't even introduce myself to her. She just bought it, walked off. The following year, in February, this person contacted me by email saying, hey, by the way, I was at Comic-Con last year. We didn't introduce each other. I didn't introduce myself, but I actually bought your blacksmith. And she happened to come from Dark Horse Comics. And she was like, I like your idea. It's a really cool project. And can I help you actually pitch this to my editors? And I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. It's going to be an interesting project. That could be something that can maybe pursue, because my dream was the idea of the blacksmith being a TV show. That's how I envisioned it. But I did the comic first to be able to actually get that out there. And so all of a sudden, these kind of gears are turning, and I was like, that's it. This is what I need. If people ask me, it's like, is there a project dream you've always wanted to have? Is there something on your list that you still want to do? There is. It would be about being able to produce something of my idea and putting it on the screen. A movie, TV. It may never happen, but it's kind of my intention. And this project was one of those types that I wanted to go for. So when I was talking to Dark Horse, they then also mentioned, yeah, we also have a department for things like, media, different types. We can do films, we can do books, we can do comics, we can do shows, animation, games, whatever. Dark Horse is in everything. And so it was very exciting. It's like, man, this is it. I found it. This project is my highest of high. All that stuff from 2008 till now, this is my peak maybe. This project could be it. I did a Kickstarter for it. Didn't make as much money, but I still completed another one. This is my 4th Kickstarter. Every single Kickstarter, successful. Man, I'm getting, everything I want is doing good. That was the blacksmith with the Dark Horse. And then, of course, there's always the ups and the downs, but the unexpected. COVID hits, right? 2020. And they get back to me saying, sorry, we're shut down. All projects killed. And we can't move forward. Maybe at some point when things get back to normal, maybe in about 6 months, of course nobody knew at the time, 3 months from now, this will be over. 6 months from now, it'll be over. 2 years was like this, right? And so nothing ever germinated. And it sat there. And this is in 2020. Man, time goes by so fast because now it's 2024. And I haven't continued with the production of this book. But in the meantime, well, you know what, I'm still driven to maybe do some more stuff, other kind of projects, but I wanted to play with different things. Other ideas came into mind. I wanted to do some 3D stuff. I want to make other kind of things. I like toys. I like vinyl figures. I like figures and statues. So I thought, well, how would I solve that? You know, I've done books. I've had all this experience up to this point. I have this comic. I've tackled a fear. But now I want to do something else. It's about constantly learning and new experiences. Here's the next thing in terms of the ideas of being able to pursue projects and being able to finish them. Work with others. You can't do it by yourself sometimes. You don't know everything. You don't have all your skills. I don't know how to sculpt. I don't know 3D programs. I don't use Blender, Maya, ZBrush. I don't use those things. I just draw. But I have interest in this field, and I want to make something. Well, should I just take classes and learn how to sculpt? I could. I might need another 10 years to be able to get good enough to do this. But you know what, instead? I'll collaborate. Collaborate with peers, collaborate with friends, collaborate with professionals. And I went on Instagram, and at that point, I had a good enough connection, and I just reached out. But nothing really germinated, but there was this one guy, opportunity. He came to a gallery show that I was presenting at, and he was filming me. It was the first time I met him, and he was a sculptor. And he worked at a small little company here in Irvine, down south, and he has a company called Plastic Cell with his brothers. And he pitched to me, he's like, hey, can we collaborate? And they had maybe, you know, a couple dozen thousand followers. They're not small, they were relatively big, but not like the biggest company. I'm not waiting for some of the biggest things I can. I'm looking for passionate people. I'm looking for people that are invested just like I am. That's who I want to work with. I don't care what their follower number is. Who are they as an individual and how driven are they? Are they equally as hungry as I am? So I found that person just by chance. And I said, yeah, let's do it. So he sculpted this. This is the first round. And we then named it the actual production model. Released it just about a year or two ago. And now we're still working on new projects. Collaboration was the key. Then, of course, I went on, moved on to different sort of projects. I expanded the world of the blacksmith, made up new characters, that sort of stuff, beyond, right? And it kept going, developing. But what I want to talk about here in this last portion is the current state, what's happening right now, the frustration of things, right? I can talk about all the successes and things that I've done, but here's the truth and the real fact. Since 2008 to about 2020, COVID year, I've produced a book every single year. Every single year. I've had a project that I would complete and finish. Since 2020, I haven't made a book. I would make maybe small little sketchbooks here and there, but not to the level of investment. I didn't because I had to. I didn't really want to, but I had to, because I had a gallery show. I had this and this. I gotta make a book. This 4 Winds thing I just done was for a gallery show. I wasn't really that interested in doing it, but I did it anyways. I had the experience, I just kind of did what I did, right? I wasn't really pushing myself. For the 4 years, I haven't really been producing as what I would usually do. And it's been a frustration for me, honestly. I haven't really fully conveyed it, nor vocalized it. I've kept it very internal, within my team. And I'm part of the Superani team. Now, I have the Dynamic Bible. Some of you know that one in terms of my educational book. That volume 1 came out, or finished, in 2018-19. And we officially got it out to Comic-Con and convention floors in 2021-22, okay? So since then, the Dynamic Bible has been done. People keep asking me, hey, where's volume 2? Where's volume 2? And I would say, next year, it's coming out for sure, man. Next year, come back, I'll have it for sure. I don't have it. People come here right now to the show, when's volume 2 coming out? I literally got that question right before I came. Next July, trust me, it's gonna be there. It's like, this has been a very interesting moment in the last couple of years, because typically, I would have it. It would be right in front of me. And right now it's not. And it's really kind of eating me inside, because typically, man, I would have had the drive. I would have been able to do this, but it's not there. Why isn't it in front of me right now? You know, I've done all this stuff and it's not here. I planted that seed, I've grown it as a tree. The Dynamic Bible, the classes I've taught, 15 years of teaching, thousands of students globally. Why don't I have this book? It's been 4 years. How come I don't have it? I don't know. And that's what kills me. I don't know why it hasn't come out. And then I make excuses. The excuse I'm telling myself is, they're not giving me a schedule. They're not giving me an actual deadline date. I'm blaming them. That shouldn't matter. I should have just been able to do it myself. Even if they didn't want to publish it, I should have just published it, right? So then I'm saying all these things, and I'm coming to this year realizing, like, I can't do this anymore. 4 years have passed, and I'm having this talk with you guys, and I had this talk earlier in the year because this year, that's been my mentality. It's not that it's not enough. I haven't been consistent. And that consistency is probably the number one thing. Out of all the stuff in the formula list, the idea, the opportunities, the hunger and the drive, you gotta be consistent. Because when you're consistent and you show up and you show it and you do it and you finish it, people then have confidence in you. People wonder, like, how do you have so much confidence in like presenting and talking and doing all these ideas? Because I've finished everything I started. Classes I would begin on, the amount of years that I've taught, never missed a single class in 15 years. Consistency, right? But I'm not consistent right now. That book is not done. And I'm promising all these other books. Where's the Blacksmith 2? That book was done in 2017. And people are saying, where's that book? I remember that one. And I'll put up other plants of seeds. Well, I got this another book idea over here, and I'm working on that right now. And people ask me when they come to the show, where's that book? And all of a sudden now I'm like going to the back of the wall and like, oh, I got this coming out here soon. Trust me, it's coming out soon. And it's just building this sense of strain and anxiety. It's like, oh my God, it's like, I gotta get moving. And you wanna be careful in these moments. And I'm very 100% aware of this, because the natural response is, get it done, move fast. Don't rush, okay? As soon as you rush, and as soon as you move too quickly, you will mess up. It's not gonna be to the levels in which you need it to be done based on your level of experience. You will sacrifice things just to get it out there. It's better that you actually just let it marinate, let it wait. Even if you feel like you're gonna panic, I gotta get it done, and right now I feel like I can get into that panic mode. Take a step back and take a breath, okay? And then from there, start producing, take it slow, don't rush, and it will happen. So even though it's been 4 years and that it is eating inside of me, I understand the awarenesses of thoughts that's happening right now. And I'm able to have maturity enough to be able to step back away and realize this is not gonna kill me. This is not gonna be the end of it, okay? This is not the end of the world. And you'll have more chances. And even if it's not good enough, trust me, as long as you get it done, no matter how long it takes, and if it's there, people will come back and people will follow, all right? So from this, confidence can then be built. The more you build it, then all those small successes, the big ones, will start to then compound, and you'll be able to do what I'm doing now and stand up here as well too, right? Because when I teach, the idea was to make you guys better than me. That's my intention. With you being here, I hope whatever project that you're pursuing is better than anything I've ever done, so that you can also stand up here and tell people, this is how I did it, and I want you to also get there as well too, right? In this last 5-10 minutes or so, I am open to have a question or two. I know the Q&As would be nice to have it a bit longer, but I don't mind taking a couple of questions. I'm sure some may have some. If you don't, that's okay. But I am sitting at the super running table all the way to L30. If you have questions about these sort of projects that you have for yourself, that's personal, you don't want to share, come to me. You can talk to me about it as much as you want. That's the generality and the gist of everything I want to talk about. But does anybody actually have a question? We have one here and one back there.
Could you describe
Let's do these two over here. Yep, start with there.
You mentioned you're asking your friend whether you should hire a writer for a big project that required skills that fell out of your skill range, and the friend told you to fail to do it yourself.
Yeah.
And you also suggested later on in your presentation that collaboration with others is crucial for your projects. So my question is, where is the line?
Yeah.
How do you know whether to maintain being in charge of every aspect of a grand venture, and when to actually request help from others? And additionally, how do you reconcile needing help from other collaborators with the artist mentality of needing to create work that fully belongs to you in order to feel deserving of that success?
For me, my response to that question about where is the line in terms of doing things solo and doing things in collaboration is based on the intensity of the project and your level of experience. If it's something you're doing for the first time, do it yourself. Go through the failure of it. If it's a project that you've done before and it's bigger in terms of intensity, then bring in other people, right? Because you're trying to maximize and increase that level of quality. And you can't do that by yourself entirely. You need other people to do it, especially in skills that you don't have. But if it's a skill that you're trying to learn still in the very, very beginning, it's good to go through it at least a little bit, just to hit that wall, get back up, try again, and receive experience from that part, if that makes sense. Okay. We have a question up here as well and one over here. There you go.
Okay, thank you. One thing I was wondering is, it's kind of similar to the question just asked, but you mentioned how if you have a project and you've been working on it, to just do it anyway, even if you feel like your skills are constantly improving, because they are. in the case of a longer term project, something that you're working on for like a year or 2 years, and you see such a dramatic improvement in your skills,
Yeah.
do you recommend like either cutting the work that you feel is very, very below standard, or just redoing it, or just like leaving it?
Leave it. Leave it and continue on. Don't go back, because that's going to be the situation every single time. It's never going to change. There's never going to be a moment where you hit that peak and plateau. It's like, now my skills are at the top, and it will never see growth again, right? And whatever project I have will be consistently equal visually. That's never going to happen. So even right now, as you might think, okay, a year goes by or half a year goes by, look back at that work, it's like, man, this is really rough. Should I go back and redo it or cut it off? Just move forward, leave it as it is. Because imagine any comic, especially specifically mangas and comics. If you look at the old artist's work and you compare it to the current stuff now, dramatic differences, right? I mean, specifically for me, the one that was very jarring was Dragon Ball. I was a huge Dragon Ball fan as a kid in the 90s. And Toriyama, his original Dragon Ball had a very specific look and style. And you look at Dragon Ball Z later on in later years in the 90s, completely different visuals. But you naturally grow with it as an audience. You can see the entire span of change, but the audience watching it is growing with it naturally, right? So it's not really that jarring for them. It was jarring for me because I was seeing the extreme changes, because I would only see pieces and parts of it. Because here in the US back in the 90s, you couldn't get access to the thing. So I would get small pieces here and small pieces there, and it's like, man, why is this so different, you know? There was one more question over here.
So,
Thank you.
so it may be something that you're like also struggling with, but like in your brain there can be two parts, right? There's the one that knows that you can do it,
Yeah.
and the other one that feels like you're being disingenuous because it's the thing that you've always done.
Yeah.
Right? How do you separate like knowing that this is something you can do, this is something you want to do, with the part that's like, this isn't serving you in any way, why bother?
Maybe even as an example, if I come to a show like this one here, that question might pop up when I see people's work with fan art. Because fan art is pre-existing property. And the artist is taking that content and just revisualizing it. How genuine is it in their growth, in their skills, to be able to elevate their projects, right? Because is it then purely for just making money? Or is it because you're trying to understand skills to be able to apply to a project for yourself and growth towards sharing your expressions of experience of life? That in itself can discern that. Is it a monetary gain, or is it a true internal passion of that sort of pathway, right? That would be the thing for me. And all this stuff here, money was a byproduct. It just came with it. It was never the intention. All the projects I did was purely for me. And for me then sharing it to others, people were interested and bought it. I also don't do it for others. I do it for myself. If you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of others, right? Did you have a question? If that makes sense, by the way.
Goes directly into it. Yeah, for me, I'm really wondering, because I'm at a point where I've had to accept, like, I really have a problem with accepting help. Like,
Yeah.
And I have my nonprofit, and basically I've been realizing, like after therapy, literally, I'm avoiding people quite literally trying to help me out.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at your Kickstarter and your first one,
Yeah.
and it's like 200, and it's done in an hour.
Yeah.
It's like, how would you advise considering to address, like, not just accepting help, but not setting a boundary where none need exist, and just kind of see how high you fly?
It's hard, that question of how do you even just enable the mentality of being able to receive assistance and help from others and not build those barriers and refrain from that sort of interaction. And I come from that world also, which I was extremely internal. From the times when I was in my 20s in high school and college, I didn't like people, okay? I was super introverted. Literally, I did not like people. I would go to the mall, I just wanted to avoid people in general. Why am I even here? My family would take me, I don't want to be here. I just wanted to be in my room and draw. That's all I wanted to do. I hated people, really, And that's just the way I saw it. And I'm being very honest about that. Today, of course, that's not the same. You naturally mature. As a young age, in your teens and 20s, you're trying to find yourself, and you're trying to find a sense of identity and what is it you want to do, and you have all these pressures of things. So of course it's going to navigate you a certain direction. But that's why I then refrained from getting a lot of help from people. I didn't want people to help me. I was also the oldest in my family. Being the oldest, the pressure of saying, set the example. Do it so that the others that are watching you can follow you, right? I don't know how to do that. We'll figure it out, right? Spend the time and do it. Work as hard as you can. Kill yourself if you have to. That was just the mentality, especially coming from an Asian family. I'm sure some of you will know this. It doesn't even matter if it's an Asian family. Any other cultures will have this as well too. That sense of like, push it and do it, right? And you don't need anybody else. You got to do it yourself. That was my mentality for the many, many number of years. Yeah, exactly, absolutely. So how did I overcome that? Well, it comes back to that opportunistic moment, meeting the right people. You have to be surrounded by the right people. And my family was very supportive, but there was still a lot of pressure behind it. And this is a situation where it's kind of hard to explain because I feel extremely fortunate and lucky that I had these kind of opportunities of meeting people, where it's not so, you can't plan it. When I was in college, well, let's go even before that. When I was in junior high, I met an artist teacher who took focus on me and said, hey, you want to go to this high school? So I went to that high school. I met an instructor. She was a Japanese language teacher. And she was not an artist. We became very close. She became a life mentor to me. I was still very closed off, but she started to open me up a little bit. And she was like a second mother. I still know her today. She's in her 70s and 80s. I financially support her, okay? And I've known her forever, most of my life. After high school, she took me and my best friend Izzy to College Art Center. She mortgaged her house and gave that money to my friend Izzy to go to college. And so we went to college together, Art Center, and I found my mentor, Norm Sherman. He taught dynamic sketching at Art Center. He just, by chance, decided to focus on me and give me that time and also energy. Every single educational place I went to, I was meeting these people that was encouraging, pushing, opening me up, where I was so adamant on closing up. I didn't want to receive information. Why are you spending so much time with me? This is kind of awkward. Why are you trying to help me? I don't deserve this. I don't deserve this. That's the mentality. In teaching, the mentality was, I don't know if I want to be a good teacher. Why would you want to listen to me, right? Does something I have to say actually have value? Are my drawings really that good? I'm doubting everything. But as each and every single one of these people came in my life, more and more was being opened. All of a sudden, that teacher killed in 2010. My mentor, Norm, shot dead. Changed my life instantly. In that very moment, I had to overnight think differently. Because the school came to me saying, would you teach for him now? Take over his shoes. Go to Art Center, teach that class. I was working full time. I was doing my Comic-Con stuff. And I was driving up and down from San Diego to LA, and I would stay with him in his house. I knew his wife and his kids. I know them even now. They're in their 20s. And I've known them till 4 and 7. Norm was my father figure. My father passed away when I was 10, okay? And so when he came in, I was like, shoot, this is the figure. And I followed him. And so when he was killed, I had to instantly change it. No matter how I felt, no matter how fearful I was, and I wanted to close off, I had to present myself out there. I had to overnight change. But this is not the reality of everybody. Some people have a much harsher experience in life. Others, not so much. That was my experience. If I didn't have that, I would not be up here. I'd probably be doing something else, probably more closed off. But those sort of life changes had to happen to get me up to this point. I can't control that. Life just gave it to me. And I can look back on thinking that, man, I wish it didn't happen. That was the way it was supposed to happen. So I don't look back and thinking, man, this is all bad stuff. No, this is good stuff. Because now I'm here in front of you guys to tell you this story. And my mentor, Norm, Kim Jong-gi, passes away 2 years ago. Friend, So I have all of a sudden these sort of things happening. And so I'm put in this position, oh, you're Super Ronnie. You could be the next Kim Jong-gi. I am not Jong-gi. I'm not my mentor, Norm. I am not these people and teachers. I have to find myself and find that confidence, stand up here saying, this is just what I do and how I want to do it. But I also want to do it together, right? Because then you start to become very aware of your mortality. I'm extremely aware of my mortality. And so tomorrow may not happen. But right now, if I drop dead, I would drop dead happy. Because I'm doing what I want to do, right? So if you can't allow yourself to open up, just put yourself in that position to understand that it's not long, man. We're not here long. So take any chance of opportunity and embrace it. Don't plan so far into the future. You can plan for tomorrow, plan for things, but don't expect it. If it happens, great. If it doesn't, tomorrow again, right? But if it doesn't happen, at least you tried as hard as you could. That's all it takes. And then life isn't simple.